20th of July marked 50 years of divisiveness in Cyprus. It also marked my 30th something birthday. And it always gets me wondering. It reminds me of my childhood. And particularly, I remember the times when I was with my grandparents at their field. And like so many, they were refugees. And I remember picking oranges, lemons, tangerines, and even potatoes. But I remember distinctively that they told me they hold the key to their home, wishing one day they will go back. They will tell me stories about their neighbors, their neighborhood. And it's these stories of pain, loss, suffering, positivistic stories, pessimistic, positive stories that it always gets me wondering, what is it about stories? In neuroscience, they say that in our brain, we have this area called the limbic system. And there is where we process and we try to understand the stories. Thinking about it, going back to the ancient Greeks, you had Zeus, you had Poseidon, and they formed a whole culture around that. For example, tour guides use this technique of narratives in order to educate the tourists. In Cyprus, for example, we say, we're the island of beauty and love. Why? Because the goddess of Aphrodite was born from the foam of the sea in the area of Paphos region. That is why we now have the Aphrodite's rock. We also say, according to legend, that if we swim 3 times around that rock, naked, under a full moon, we are going to find our true love. I can tell you that that is not true, because being there, done that, I'm still looking for love. So we're still looking, guys, on what is it about these narratives. And I decided to go into tourism because narratives shape our perspective. I was in the tourism industry and I always asked the tourist, what do you think of Cyprus? Oh, we like the sea, we like the temperature, we like halloumi, χωριάτικη salata. But ultimately, once they continue telling me what they know about Cyprus, I got to realize that it's either Greek or Turkish. So I was thinking, okay, so why did you listen? Where did you go? So I wanted to dip deeper into this. So it's all about these perspectives. And tour guides do play a pivotal role in this industry. It's not only about economics, an economic activity. It's a social activity. We interact with people. I remember when I was in an educational fair, and I told the person, excuse me, do you have any tourism courses? And you know what the person told me? Why do you want to study tourism? Do something that will earn you more money. But you see, we have the social aspect, the interaction of people, of cultures. We understand who these people are, where they came from. And tour guides do play a pivotal role. We say that they are the cultural brokers of destinations, because what they tell the tourists create particular destination images. And we can see the importance there. I was in Omodos village once. I was sitting in a lovely picturesque coffee shop, drinking my frappe. It was those hot August days, 40 degrees. And then suddenly this tour bus came, like 30, 40 people with a tour guide, sweating, tired. One of those typical tours, they start early in the morning, and by lunchtime, it's basically survival of the fittest. They desperately needed it for some water, something to cool down. So it was break time. And as I was sitting quietly up until that time, 2 tourists come and they asked for Turkish coffee. Now, the lady in the coffee shop was like, we only serve Cyprus coffee. The tourists were like, isn't it the same thing? Oh my God. At that time, I was feeling uncomfortable. Suddenly, the tour guide that was sitting 2 tables next to me barged in the conversation to make things worse and told them, we live in Cyprus, we only serve Cyprus coffee, we served Cyprus coffee throughout time, so it's Cyprus coffee. I desperately wanted to intervene. I wanted to share a little bit of my knowledge, extend this narrative, but I didn't say anything. I wish I did, and you know what I practiced? What we say in Cyprus, "Σιώπα και να περάσουμε." Be quiet and it's gonna pass. You don't want to ruffle the storyline and create some drama all around it. But you know what? I wish I did. I wish I could tell them that yes, Turkish coffee and Cypriot coffee do have some similarities. They probably originated from the Ottoman Empire since they spread the coffee culture in the European region. We both make coffee at the same briki, as you can see. It's served in a small cup. And you know what? Both cultures have this thing of fortune telling, because what's left in the coffee cup, I remember my grandmother, she used to look at the cup and she used to look at the silt of the coffee that's left under this small cup, and she would say, you have a long road ahead of you. You are going to meet a person with the letter M. Now that person could be Maria, Marula, Mariku, God knows. And it's going to come bearing with some positive or negative news. Fortune telling for you. But you see, I didn't say anything. And I agreed to the established narrative that fostered divisiveness instead of unity. Why is it? Is it because of fear? Is it because we don't trust each other? We don't want to collaborate? Maybe I can understand that through my experience. So when I came to Cyprus for my data collection for my PhD, and I needed to interview tour guides, people within the tourism industry, I was met with a little bit of hostility. And I'm telling you, in the geographic north of the island and the geographic south of the island. Why? Because they didn't know who I was, what I was doing. They didn't let me on some particular tours. And it took about 2 months for the word to spread out that it's this guy, he's doing his PhD in Hong Kong and now he's back in Cyprus doing the interviews, and he really wants to learn. And after gaining this trust, they started talking. They started telling me stories. They shared stories. They were enthusiastic. And one story that struck me was the story of the clay oven. Such an insignificant thing, you might think, used to unite people. They told me, back in the days, in the villages, they didn't have any electricity. Mostly was the richer people that had clay ovens. So it didn't matter what nationality the people were in that village. They used to gather around these clay ovens to socialize, bake bread together once every week, once every 2 weeks. So we can understand that this clay oven and this story fosters collaboration, unity. And these are the type of stories that we have to remember and tell other people. Ladies and gentlemen, we are standing in the last divided capital city in Europe. Left and right and behind me, we can see Venetian walls. And these Venetian walls are a reminder of our shared heritage, which are also part of our collective memory, where these walls used to protect the people inside, now symbolize the divisiveness within. And it is the stories that we tell around this green line that divides our capital city, and not only, that can either foster peace building, reunification, and trust. Let me reflect on the words of this famous historian Fernand Bourdelle, which he said that we have to look at the longue durée, the long history throughout time with different perspectives in order to understand, in order to jump out of our established storyline and narratives that we learn. And I would like to let you know that storytelling, ladies and gentlemen, involves a two-way process. The storyteller or the writer that writes the story, and a listener or a reader. I will ask this question. Don't you want to be part of these stories? My name is Vasilis Papavasiliou, and this was my TEDx talk. Thank you very much for listening.